Okay, a quick video today, and oh boy, a certain someone is going to have a field day with this headline. Hard Rust requirements from May onward. This is a post to the Debian development lists from a certain Julian Andres Claude. Hi all, I plan to introduce hard Rust dependencies and Rust code into apt no earlier than May 2026. This extends at first to the Rust compiler and standard library and the Sequoia ecosystem. In particular, our code to parse deb, r, tar, and the HTTP signature verification code would strongly benefit from memory-safe languages and a stronger approach to unit testing. If you maintain a port without a working Rust toolchain, please ensure it has one within the next 6 months or sunset the port. It's important for the project as a whole to be able to move forward and rely on modern tools and technologies and not be held back by trying to shoehorn modern software on retro computing devices. Thank you for your understanding. So, yeah, this is a post that is basically saying that, well, when it comes to building apt, which is the package manager for every Debian-based distro, at least for Debian itself, I'm actually not sure if there are any Debian-based distros that might have their own package managers. In May 2026, Rust is going to become a hard requirement, which at this point is a little bit problematic. And the reason for that is because there are certain platforms that Debian supports that Rust does not yet support because Rust is based on LLVM, or at least it uses LLVM as its backend code generator as part of the compiler. And there are some targets that LLVM doesn't support, but GCC does. And so those targets do have support within Linux in general, and specifically within Debian, but until Rust has a working GCC frontend, there's no way to effectively run Rust code on those targets. And so unfortunately, this does mean that certain targets for Debian will eventually be sunset if this goes through, and if, the GCCRS project doesn't manage to get a working toolchain by then. Which, to be honest, I don't think they will. As far as I know, the GCCRS project has been making good progress, but they're definitely not at the point where they have a fully working implementation. And from what I remember of their current plans, they plan to support compiling the Rust standard library, that is, all of the features that come shipped with the language, but for an older version of Rust than the one that currently exists. And that was supposed to be done, or is planned to be done, sometime in 2026. So a fully working Rust implementation will definitely not be production ready in the GCC toolchain by May 2026. So this means that if this goes through, that a lot of targets for Debian are going to be dropped, which is unfortunate because Debian really is, at least in my mind, one of those distros that is specifically good at targeting those legacy systems. And, I don't think there are any other distros that have such a wide range of targets, other than perhaps source-based distros like Gentoo. And because of that, to be honest, I don't think this is actually going to go through. After all, this is a proposal. It's from a Debian developer and Ubuntu core developer, by the way. Ubuntu has been lately pushing Rust within their distro with, utils, sudo rs, and so on. But to be honest, I don't think the Debian community will be ready to make this change right away in May 2026. I think this will probably be rejected and will take some time. And already we can see some people pushing back on this, so someone responded here from Jean-Paul Adrien Globitz. I find this particular wording rather unpleasant and very unusual to what I'm used to from Debian in the past. I have to admit that I'm a bit disappointed that such a confrontational approach has been chosen. And to be honest, I kind of agree with that. Rust, unfortunately, has a reputation for being the community that just likes to rewrite it in Rust. And Ubuntu, and Canonical in particular, I'm not going to say that these are conspiracy theories. They have been kind of aggressively migrating to Rust, and certainly are real upsides to using Rust in places where it makes sense. But I think it's fair to say that they've been pushing it rather faster than some people in the community would like. Some people think it's just not ready yet, especially with what we've seen with Ubuntu 25.10, with some of the issues with utils, where, they've had some breakages. They've had the date command not work correctly, and then that broke unintended upgrades. And even though 25.10 is essentially a beta for the upcoming LTS, some people are saying, well, even now it's too early to do this. So we'll see what happens here, but I suspect that this change will be rejected. But what do you think? Do you think this will go in? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.